Welcome everybody to Pokemon of the Week. I am Daniel, OnionGrave64, or Civil Onion based upon how you know me. I sound slightly nasally and gravelly today. That is partly because of my dissertation celebration last night, so bear with me and my very weird sounding voice. The Pokemon this week is Qwilfish, number 211. And just like last week, because it's a water type, I get to share the same music. Hooray! It has 3 abilities, and they're all actually pretty good for once. Poison Point is an ability that means if you make physical contact with Qwilfish, there's about a 1 in 3 chance that you will get poisoned. Swift Swim, double your speed in the rain. We had it on Love Disc last week if you recall. And finally we have Intimidate, which is its new ability from the Dream World, and a rather good one at that, especially for what Qwilfish does. Switching it in means the opponent loses 1 stage of attack. And frankly, I'm amazed it didn't have Intimidate when it first came out. Well, you know, once it had been added as an ability, that is. Just look at it. Wow, it's pretty creepy to look at, and it looks a bit like Tard. That not just a retard. I mean Tard, the grumpy cat meme. It reminds me very much of that. But base stat wise, you have pretty poor stats. It's a shame. Qwilfish, as you will notice as we go on through the sets, is a Pokemon with a great move pool, a great typing, a great set of abilities, and hideous stats that can't utilise it properly. Base 95 attack is reasonably good, and base 85 speed is reasonable. From there, everything else is pretty poor, especially both its special attack and special defense being base 55. The special defense being base 55 is a bigger problem because, well, Qwilfish is not usually renowned for being a pure attacking Pokemon. I'll show you in the sets why that base 55 special defense is such a letdown. Qwilfish is a water and poison type, same as the Tentacle family. And as a consequence, it has 3 type weaknesses: electric, ground and psychic. It does have the ability to absorb toxic spikes, even though in most animations it is floating off the ground. And when it comes to resistances, it has a lot of them, that is for sure. Resistances to bug, fighting, fire, ice, poison, steel and water. Both poison and water are very good defensive types in isolation, so it really is no surprise that this is the case. It is dwelling in the RU tier, although you can see it in the UU tier very frequently as well. Because of its great typing, it really does suit that role in the UU tier very well too. The first set is the set that's by far and away the most common one. It's based upon the entry hazard, or hazards, depending on how you go for it. The move set is pretty simple, although in Black and White 2, the fact Qwilfish got access to Pain Split made it a lot better than it was before, because it didn't even have any form of recovery outside of rest before then. Spikes are generally going to be your entry hazard of choice. You can run these in conjunction with Toxic Spikes, or you can run Haze alongside Spikes. Haze is quite useful because it removes all status changes on the field. Obviously, in conjunction with Intimidate, this is a bit of a weird choice. The reason you would use Haze is in case a special attack is going to try and set up on you, you Haze and then switch out before it kills you. That is generally the way to go with that. Spikes are much harder to remove from the field of play than Toxic Spikes. That's why they're more frequently used. Toxic Spikes can be absorbed by all non-levitating and non-flying poison types, so Weezing can't absorb them, for example. Crobat can't absorb them, for example. Gengar can't absorb them, for example. Things like that. Pain Split though, well, I've said Pain Split in many sets over the last few weeks. Pain Split adds your health up and the opponent's health up, splits it evenly and gives the health back. As Qwilfish does not have an incredibly high base HP, this is very useful for it indeed. Especially because it's quite quick. And the fact it's quite quick means it can sometimes get the Pain Split off before the opponent attacks again. When it comes to the EV spread, it looks a bit weird at first, and I had to think this through a bit. 16 EVs in speed allow you to outspeed all the base 55s, and the reason you want to do that is because there are a very large number of base 55s that will kill you very easily. I've labelled 3 in the note there, but there are far more than that. Ampharos will KO you with any of its electrical attacks in one hit. Golurk's Earthquake will kill you, probably even with Intimidate at times. And Cacturn, although in itself not going to be able to kill you in one hit, you can't do anything to it. Especially if it is the Storm Drain variant, and then you can literally do nothing to it. So you want to be able to outspeed it to just get your entry hazards down and then run away. The nature is impish because you want to boost your defense as much as you can. Your special defense is really a lost cause, it's a bit of a shame. And the item is leftovers. It can be Black Sludge, as I talked about in my Wheezing Pokemon of the Week episode. Anytime that I am talking about a poison type, leftovers can be replaced with Black Sludge. I don't use Black Sludge because it's a more high risk item, because if people that you're facing have Trick, they can end up tricking your Black Sludge back onto you, onto a different Pokemon, you know, that's not a poison type. So you have to be very careful. Putting maximum HP EVs is just the best way to bulk this Pokemon out, and then throwing the rest of the EVs at defense is definitely the thing to do, because your special defense is just too terrible to save. Your defense, even though it's not very high base wise, in conjunction with Intimidate, actually isn't too bad. So make the most of that while you can. The second set is kind of it's a power flinch set effectively, and Qwilfish, when you think about it, is quite a good candidate for this because ground types are not going to switch into you. So Thunder Wave not affecting ground types is not a big issue. That is a big advantage for it. Unfortunately for Qwilfish, its move pool on the physical side is not very good. So it's one of the very few times that you will see a poison stab move being recommended almost compulsory. Poison Jab is a base 80 power move, it's a poison type move, so you'll get stabbed, so it'll be 120. But as we all know, poisons are a horrible type to attack with, it's only super effective on grass types. It's still your best second attacking option after Waterfall. You can go in any set apart from this one, you can use Aquatail instead of Waterfall. You need the flinch chance though for this set to work, obviously. But do bear in mind, if you go with Aquatail, you've got a 10% chance of missing, and usually if Qwilfish misses, it dies. So be careful. Thunder Wave will make everything slower than you, unless you know priority moves. Although the great thing for Qwilfish is that it resists almost every single priority move. It resists Mach Punch, it resists Vacuum Wave, it resists Bullet Punch, it resists Aqua Jet. So that is a big positive for it. Your last move though is quite an interesting one because, like I said, Qwilfish doesn't have very many good attacking moves, so you basically get to pick which of the more versatile, which versatility factor would you like. Do you want to be able to heal? Do you want to be able to set up an entry hazard? Or do you want to be ensure with Aqua Jet that you can just quickly come in and revenge kill? Because this can sort of do a dual purpose as a result. It's really up to you and based upon your set requirements for your team. So if you don't have a spiker, this can work perfectly well as one. Although, yeah, it's a bit more offensive than the first set, so if you're a person that is really quite aggressive but wants extra hazards, this is a perfect set to put spikes in. Going for Pain Split is probably the best idea though, just because you might be able to catch someone off, or you might be able to do more damage with Pain Split than you can with your Waterfall. So that would make it more versatile as well. As I put in the note though, you do have to scout the opponent's team first very thoroughly before you rush this set into action. Lantern in the UU tier is going to be your biggest problem because even Poison Jab is not really likely to save you because it's not going to ever one-hit KO, and obviously Poison Jab doesn't have chances of flinching, so your power flinch won't work. So you have to be very careful about Pokemon like that in particular. A lot of the Rotom forms are also problematic for you, so you've got to watch out. Again, I think Leftovers are the best item. You can, if you want, go for a Life Orb. Leftovers is by far and away the safest choice, but Life Orb is not a bad choice either, especially if you're going to have it with Pain Split because you can heal back the damage you're taking, so not always a bad idea that. The third set is, well, you have to bear in mind something first, and I put it as note 2. Drizzle and Swift Swim are illegal together, so you can't have a Politoad, for example, setting up your rain and then Qwilfish coming in and being super quick from the get-go. Not allowed to do that. So this is what you do instead. You hope somebody on your team uses Rain Dance, but just in case that isn't possible, the option of having Aqua Jet there just makes your Qwilfish a little bit more versatile. Sword Stance would boost your attack by 2 stages, so that would make it double the strength, then triple the strength, then quadruple the strength respectively. It's a very useful move for Qwilfish because you probably get to use it once, probably get to use your Waterfall or Poison Jab, and then you either explode if you have it. It is a shame that Explosion in Gen 5 is nowhere near as good as it used to be, but even though it got nerfed so hard, a Sword Dance Explosion is still going to wreck face. It is going to destroy nigh on everything. So don't worry too much about the nerfing. Remember, once you've used Sword Dance once, you've effectively wiped out the nerf that it got in 5th gen. So it's still very powerful and very potent. The EVs should be quite self-explanatory here. You want to go for your maximum speed potential, even if you have Aqua Jet. You want to go for your maximum attack, again, even if you have Sword Dance. It doesn't matter really where the 4 goes, but the most important thing is that you need to go with an adamant nature, because frankly, even if you go for Jolly, you're just not powerful enough to take things out. And if you're in the rain, the fact that you're adamant should mean your speed should be way higher than most people's anyway. And it is very important in this case to go for a Life Orb, because the extra 30% output is likely to just do enough to get KOs. And the reason you shouldn't go for an Expert Belt with Qwilfish is because Poison's only super effective on one type. So you're only ever, if you're gonna come across a grass type, God forbid, it still might kill you. That's the only time when your secondary stab move is actually going to gain a bonus out of Expert Belt. So don't use that, definitely use a Life Orb. I hope you found this quite useful, guys, and I appreciate you interacting with the video, obviously, because I like to hear from you. If you've used Qwilfish before, tell me how you've used it. I'm always curious. And always get involved. These are weekly things, it's always going to happen, and I want to hear from you. Peace out, everyone.
If you enjoyed the video you've just seen, please join my Facebook group and follow me on Twitter for the latest news.